Hello and welcome to Code Football. In football, the formation describes how the players in a team generally position themselves on the pitch. This video presents the formations with 4 back defenders. 4-4-2. This formation was the most common in football in the 1990s and early 2000s, so well known that it inspired the title of the magazine 4-4-2. The midfielders are required to work hard to support both the defense and the attack. Typically one of the central midfielders is expected to go upfield as often as possible to support the forward pair, while the other will play a holding role, shielding the defense. The 2 wide midfield players must move up the flanks to the goal line in attacks and yet also protect the full-backs. On the European level, the major example of a team using a 4-4-2 formation was Milan, trained by Arrigo Sacchi and later Fabio Capello, which won 3 European Cups, 2 Intercontinental Cups, and 3 UEFA Super Cups between 1988 and 1995. More recently, commentators have noted that at the highest level, the 4-4-2 is being phased out in favor of formations such as the 4-2-3-1. In 2010, none of the winners of the Spanish, English, and Italian leagues, nor the Champions League, relied on the 4-4-2. Following England's elimination at the 2010 World Cup by a 4-2-3-1 Germany side, England national team coach Fabio Capello, who was notably successful with the 4-4-2 at Milan in the 1990s, was criticized for playing an increasingly outdated 4-4-2 formation. However, the 4-4-2 is still regarded as the best formation to protect the whole width of the field, with the opposing team having to get past 2 banks of 4, and has recently had a tactical revival, having recently contributed to Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid, Carlo Ancelotti's Real Madrid and Claudio Ranieri's Leicester City. 4-3-3. The 4-3-3 was a development of the 4-2-4, and was played by the Brazilian national team in the 1962 World Cup, although a 4-3-3 had also previously been used by the Uruguay national team in the 1950 and 1954 World Cups. The extra player in midfield allows a stronger defense, and the midfield could be staggered for different effects. The 3 midfielders normally play closely together to protect the defense, and move laterally across the field as a coordinated unit. The 3 forwards split across the field to spread the attack, and may be expected to mark the opposition fullbacks as opposed to doubling back to assist their own fullbacks, as do the wide midfielders in a 4-4-2. When used from the start of a game, this formation is widely regarded as encouraging expansive play, and should not be confused with the practice of modifying a 4-4-2 by bringing on an extra forward to replace a midfield player when behind in the latter stages of a game. This formation is suited for a short passing game and useful for ball retention. A staggered 4-3-3 involving a defensive midfielder, usually numbered 4 or 6, and 2 attacking midfielders, numbered 8 and 10, was commonplace in Italy, Argentina, and Uruguay during the 1960s and 1970s. The Italian variety of 4-3-3 was simply a modification of WM, by converting one of the 2 wing halves to a libero, sweeper, whereas the Argentine and Uruguayan formations were derived from 2-3-5 and retained the notional attacking center half. The national team that made this famous was the Dutch team of the 1974 and 1978 World Cups, even though the team won neither. In club football, the team that brought this formation to the forefront was the famous Ajax team of the early 1970s, which won 3 European Cups with Johan Cruyff, and Zdenek Zeman with Foggia in Italy during the late 1980s, where he completely revitalized the movement supporting this formation. It was also the formation with which Norwegian manager Nils Arne Eggen won 15 Norwegian League titles. Most teams using this formation now use the specialist defensive midfielder. Recent famous examples include the Porto and Chelsea teams coached by José Mourinho, as well as the Barcelona team under Pep Guardiola. Mourinho has also been credited with bringing this formation to England in his first stint with Chelsea, and it is commonly used by Guardiola's Manchester City. Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp is a proponent of the technique, using it to lead the team to victory at the 2018-19 UEFA Champions League final, as well as lifting the 2019-20 Premier League title. 4-4-2 diamond or 4-1-2-1-2. The 4-4-2 diamond staggers the midfield. The width in the team has to come from the fullbacks pushing forward. The defensive midfielder is sometimes used as a deep-lying playmaker, but needs to remain disciplined and protect the back four behind him. The central attacking midfielder is the creative player, responsible for picking up the ball, and distributing the ball wide to its fullbacks or providing the two strikers with through balls. When out of possession, the midfield four must drop and assist the defense, while the two strikers must be free for the counter-attack. Its most famous example was Carlo Ancelotti's Milan, which won the 2003 UEFA Champions League final and made Milan runners-up in 2005. Milan was obliged to adopt this formation so as to field talented central midfielder Andrea Pirlo, in a period when the position of offensive midfielder was occupied by Rui Costa and later Kaká. This tactic was gradually abandoned by Milan after Andriy Shevchenko's departure in 2006, progressively adopting a Christmas tree formation. 4-1-3-2. The 4-1-3-2 is a variation of the 4-1-2-1-2 and features a strong and talented defensive center midfielder. This allows the remaining three midfielders to play further forward and more aggressively, and also allows them to pass back to their defensive mid when setting up a play or recovering from a counter-attack. The 4-1-3-2 gives a strong presence in the forward middle of the pitch and is considered to be an attacking formation. Opposing teams with fast wingers and strong passing abilities can try to overwhelm the 4-1-3-2 with fast attacks on the wings of the pitch before the three offensive midfielders can fall back to help their defensive line. Valery Lobanovsky is one of the most famous exponents of the formation, using it with Dynamo Kiev, winning 3 European trophies in the process. Another example of the 4-1-3-2 in use was the England national team at the 1966 World Cup, managed by Alf Ramsey. 4-3-2-1, the Christmas tree formation. The 4-3-2-1, commonly described as the Christmas tree formation, has another forward brought on for a midfielder to play in the hole, so leaving two forwards slightly behind the most forward striker. In this approach, the middle of the three central midfielders act as a playmaker while one of the attacking midfielders plays in a free role. However, it is also common for the three midfielders to be energetic shuttlers, providing for the individual talent of the two attacking midfielders ahead. The Christmas tree formation is considered a relatively narrow formation and depends on full-backs to provide presence in wide areas. The formation is also relatively fluid. During open play, one of the side central midfielders may drift to the flank to add additional presence. Thierry Venables and Christian Gross used this formation during their time in charge of Tottenham Hotspur. Since then, the formation has lost its popularity in England. It is, however, most known for being the formation Carlo Ancelotti used on and off during his time as a coach with Milan to lead his team to win the 2007 UEFA Champions League title. 4-2-3-1. This formation is widely used by Spanish, French, and German sides. While it seems defensive to the eye, it is quite a flexible formation, as both the wide players and the full-backs join the attack. In defense, this formation is similar to either the 4-5-1 or 4-4-1-1. It is used to maintain possession of the ball and stopping opponent attacks by controlling the midfield area of the field. The lone striker may be very tall and strong to hold the ball up as his midfielders and full-backs join him in attack. The striker could also be very fast. In these cases, the opponent's defense will be forced to fall back early, thereby leaving space for the offensive central midfielder. This formation is used especially when a playmaker is to be highlighted. The variations of personnel used on the flanks in this setup include using traditional wingers, using inverted wingers, or simply using wide midfielders. Different teams and managers have different interpretations of the 4-2-3-1, but one common factor among them all is the presence of the double pivot. The double pivot is the usage of two holding midfielders in front of the defense. At international level, this formation is used by the Belgian, French, Dutch, and German national teams in an asymmetric shape, and often with strikers as wide midfielders or inverted wingers. The formation is also currently used by Brazil as an alternative to the 4-2-4 formation of the late 1950s to 1970. Implemented similarly to how the original 4-2-4 was used back then, use of this formation in this manner is very offensive, creating a six-man attack and a six-man defense tactical layout. The front four attackers are arranged as a pair of wide forwards and a playmaker forward who play in support of a lone striker. Mario Zagallo also considers the Brazil 1970 football team he coached as pioneers of 4-2-3-1. In recent years, with fullbacks having ever more increasing attacking roles, the wide players, be they deep-lying forwards, inverted wingers, attacking wide midfielders, have been tasked with the defensive responsibility to track and pin down the opposition fullbacks. This formation has been very frequently used by managers all over the world in the modern game. One particularly effective use of it was Liverpool under Rafael Benitez, who deployed Javier Mascherano, Xabi Alonso, and Steven Gerrard in central midfield, with Gerrard acting in a more advanced role in order to link up with Fernando Torres, who acted as the central striker. Another notable example at club level is Bayern Munich under Jupp Heynckes at his treble-clinching 2012-13 season. 4-2-1-3. The somewhat unconventional 4-2-1-3 formation was developed by José Mourinho during his time at Inter Milan, including in the 2010 UEFA Champions League final. By using captain Javier Zanetti and Esteban Cambiasso in holding midfield positions, he was able to push more players to attack. Wesley Sneijder filled the attacking midfield role and the front three operated as three strikers, rather than having a striker and one player on each wing. Using this formation, Mourinho won the treble with Inter in only his second season in charge of the club. As the system becomes more developed and flexible, small groups can be identified to work together in more efficient ways by giving them more specific and different roles within the same lines, and numbers like 4-2-1-3, 4-1-2-3 and even 4-2-2-2 occur. Many of the current systems have three different formations in each third: defending, middle, and attacking. The goal is to outnumber the other team in all parts of the field but to not completely wear out all the players on the team using it before the full 90 minutes are up. So the one single number is confusing as it may not actually look like a 4-2-1-3 when a team is defending or trying to gain possession. In a positive attack it may look exactly like a 4-2-1-3.